Afield is presented by Gusto Hunting Preserve.
Hi, welcome to Afield. I'm your host, Christiana Roussel. Today I'm sitting down with Leigh and Cliff Spencer of Alabama Sawyer, headquartered here in Birmingham, Alabama. We're going to take a quick tour of their studio and their workspace, and then we're going to come back to have a conversation. I feel really lucky to spend some time with you guys today and look forward to the tour showing me around Alabama Sawyer. Thank you very much.
As you can see, there's a lot of material in here. We really have a wood problem. We design and make products in order to deal with that wood problem.
I would say every girl wants to own a forklift or two. One thing about sourcing salvage wood is that there's always somebody who notices that wood is being wasted. People love trees, right? It's like there's got to be something better to do with this stuff, and he reached out to us.
It's a vacuum kiln, so it dries the wood at eight atmospheres, which is like 30,000 feet above Everest. Assembly and final sanding zone.
Beyond being nationally recognized for their design work, the pair are deeply committed to something they call urban timber, saving fallen trees from ending up in landfills while honoring the life of the tree, transforming these pieces of wood into heirloom furniture. Alabama Sawyer has been featured in publications such as Garden and Gun, Southern Living, Food and Wine, Architectural Digest, and many others, highlighting a style that some in the industry call organic modern meets Southern. We're delighted to have you both on Afield today. Welcome.
Thank you.
So Cliff, you are known in this husband and wife duo as the maker, visionary, and wood whisperer of sorts of the duo. And you're also a Birmingham native who's spent some time in California honing your furniture building craft. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started?
How far should I go back? As a small child, I grew up working with my hands. My father always put us to work in the yard, in the woods, cutting trees, cutting firewood, building this and that. Later on, after college, I lived in New York City. I was interested in theater. I was doing anything I could do with in the theater and entertainment business. And to make money, though, because I didn't make any money doing that.
Of course.
I got a job in a wood shop. I had some experience building sets for theater, but it was then that I started working in wood shops to pay the bills. And eventually, over time, I got tired of the entertainment biz and just dove into the carpentry and furniture making.
Did you ever want to be an actor or anything like that?
Yes, I was.
That was your goal first. Okay.
Yeah, that was all.
But you said as close as I can get is building sets.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I love doing that too. And,
right.
And got into film and that's how I ended up in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And built sets for film and also worked in cabinetry and furniture shops. And then when we met, that was time to get serious with it, and that's when we started our business. Started Cliff Spencer Furniture Maker in Los Angeles, and ran that for several years, and then in that time also moved to that was before we were engaged, or when we got engaged. We lived in Colorado, and we took a stint left LA and did a stint in Colorado, and I worked in a great furniture shop there, doing really nice work in the homes up in Aspen, and learned a lot. And then came back to LA. We got married, and I'm like, I gotta start a business. I gotta,
gotta get serious about this. Yeah.
And so that was it. It's just built on urgent necessity.
Gotcha.
To pay the bills.
Gotcha.
Provide.
Yeah. But it sounds like at the core of everything you've done and where you lived that you really do embrace the outdoors. And that seems to be a part of life in LA because you've got such great temperate weather. And then Colorado, you're going to be outside all the time. And it sounds like you get a lot of that here in Birmingham too.
Yes. I think my contact with the outdoors and the contact with the woods and trees has been the through line and continues to be the through line.
Right.
In all of our work, my favorite part still is the sawmill. Still is the procuring of the logs and deciding how they should best be milled, milling them and seeing that material for the first time. The wood is never as beautiful as when it's freshly cut from the log. We do all this work to dry it and mill it and sand it and finish it to bring out the beauty of the wood, but we're just trying to get back to the natural state.
Exactly.
And so it's still my favorite part is the initial is contact with the material. Mm-hmm. And I think the lumber, the wood, that piece of nature that we're able to bring forward and put into somebody's home, somebody's life, that's the real driving force for what we do and why we do it and how we make decisions about design, really, too. It's material forward.
And so would you call that responsible stewardship of a product?
Yeah, I think we make use of wood from the urban forest.
Okay.
So we call it urban timber.
Okay.
So currently, the urban timber is wood from the urban forest, which is just the collection of trees in the city. So that material, when a tree comes down, it's seen as a waste problem. And, it's cut one day, and then another truck comes the day after and takes it to a landfill. So all those logs, all that wood is just set to rot. There's nothing to do with it. So from the beginning, I found ways to operate sawmills and try to make use of this material. And because it's such a viable, interesting, unique material.
Right.
So we're able to offer material, wood, from the area that has a unique story, comes from a specific place, and has unique characteristics based on where it grew, what conditions affected it. So urban timber has more character.
Right.
There's more of a story to it, but it's at the same time it's a viable material that is currently overlooked. So yes, I think we try to be stewards of the urban forest to make use of this material and make beautiful furniture and flooring, paneling, all kinds of products from it, and create jobs.
Right.
Create a company. So I like to think that we're part of a movement of urban timber work that has grown since we've started doing it and will continue to grow and be a bigger, viable industry.
It's fantastic. Leigh, you have, I think your strengths complement Cliff's as well. Mm-hmm. And you are a strategist, and you've got kind of that 30,000 foot view, and you all work together. Mm-hmm. When you moved, because you grew up in California, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so when Cliff said we're moving to Birmingham, you'd already had a deep appreciation of the South. But did you have any idea what your life would look like with a woodworking business here?
No, I would say that when Cliff and I got married, there was no plans to move to Alabama.
Right. Okay.
We would come for Christmas or a wedding. So we pretty much thought everybody was like dressed up, drinking bourbon all the time.
That's right. Smocked dresses all the time.
We didn't really know what. But actually, over the years, and especially when we had kids, I feel like we would come with the kids, and I went from just sort of coming for an event to wanting to stay longer, and just we love the lifestyle and just the more relaxed nature of things, and how obviously California has all sorts of wonderful outdoor things, but in Alabama everything just feels much more accessible in terms of the outdoors. So I was saying earlier, like, there's this wonderful architecture and design community, and there's beautiful structures, but there's also like the undesigned environment is right there too.
Right. You can have a great hike like 10 minutes from your house.
Yeah. And that was just, I love that too. And so, no, I had no idea I had no idea that we would live here. And now we're going on 10 years.
Yep.
And I'm a huge cheerleader. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you really did tap into the whole design community here, and that kind of did it start with your connection with Make Birmingham?
Okay, yeah. So when we first got here, we had a small shop at Make Birmingham, which was incredible because working in a manufacturing capacity, you're probably in like a soft industrial area in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Which currently that's where we are. But if we had first gotten here and just were in the middle of, my only friend would be the UPS man sort of thing.
Exactly.
But Make Birmingham was just this creative epicenter of all these people just trying stuff, like whether they were somewhat established of a business or just someone, doing a little bit more of their side gig. But there was screen printing and photography and ceramics and painters and architects and just, so it was a creative community right off the bat. And I would say now that graphic designers, I would say now that like a lot of the people that we work with, other collaborators, creative collaborators here in Birmingham, and even just people we know, our network, it's like, it's not even 6 degrees. It's like 3 degrees of Make Birmingham.
That's kind of separation, right?
Yeah.
You can just extrapolate and it's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a beautiful design, like a hive there to kind of throw out ideas and share best practices.
Yeah.
But y'all quickly outgrew that space, right?
Pretty much after like
a week.
Right.
but we stayed longer than that.
Right.
But
Because you need space for drying, you need space for storing, you need space for all of your equipment. Can you talk a little bit about the process? Maybe Cliff, you can talk about the process of what it takes. So you've got a huge trunk that comes in that somebody has taken down. Maybe something fell in their yard, or maybe you work with the tree service. And so how does that come to you? Can you describe that process?
Right. Well, we don't cut down trees.
Okay.
We work with the tree services and rely on them to use their equipment to cut it and to bring it to us.
Okay.
We work with them to say, hey, can you try, if it's safe, can you try to cut it here and here? So
do you
we
do
can use it for
consulting, like
this.
on the front end? Like if a homeowner was
Yep.
taking down a tree and you would go out and consult with an arborist?
Yeah, we go out and I'll take measurements of the tree,
Okay.
of the width and the height and the potential, how many logs we can get out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's there's a formula that you use that can tell you about how many board feet you'd get out of that log. So then I can tell the client, well, this would be good for this or this type of furniture or this type of product. You could, have this much material. And then it's the logs are delivered to us, and we make a cut plan according to whether we're milling it for our inventory or for a client. We make this mill plan and then mill it as soon as possible. A lot of people some people have called us and say, hey, I've got this great log, white oak log, and it should be pretty dry. It's been sitting in my yard for 3 years. And
Right.
I'm like, well, that's actually probably pretty rotten.
Oh, that's such a shame. Does it make you sad?
Yeah, wood doesn't dry until you mill it.
Okay.
It just holds, a tree
Holds the moisture.
about 60 to 70% water.
Okay.
So when you look at a tree, you're actually looking at mainly water, which is fascinating. So we mill it, and the best time to mill it is immediately after it's cut.
Okay.
And so we try to mill them as soon as we get them, and then we set them up to dry, carefully stacked and stickered so airflow can, gets through there. We have a great wood barn at our factory that we'll show you that is
Yes.
that has great airflow. That's just perfect conditions for air drying. And so that can take anywhere from 6 months to a year before it's then ready to go into a kiln.
Wow.
And so you got to get that 60% moisture content down to about 30 or
Wow.
less. We really get it down to 20 before we go into the kiln. And so then it goes into the kiln from anywhere from a week to 4 weeks, depending on the thickness and species. And then it comes out. Mm-hmm. And then hopefully by then we've done drawings and designs for the client, or we know what products we're going to be using that for our own inventory. And then it goes in the milling department. We start surfacing it and cleaning it up and start making furniture.
That's amazing. So you make everything from tables, chairs, footstools, compost bins, things like that. What has been like the craziest thing anybody ever asked you to make from
Maybe the Turkey Credenza.
The Turkey Credenza?
a Turkey Credenza?
Yeah, we recently made a Turkey Credenza.
Okay, tell us about the Turkey Credenza.
Well, as
Yeah.
the name implies,
Yes.
it's all about the turkey.
Okay.
So a client of ours, we make a case for records called the Max Credenza. We can make it in other species, but currently we make it in walnut, and it's for vinyl LPs, and so we love that product. It's a beautiful product, but we customize it for people, different sizes or height, whatnot. But this one, he wanted records on the sides.
He had another word too. He wanted records, but he also wanted sort of like a couple open shelves for another word, like a German word for. But also, and I forgot his name, a humongous stuffed turkey.
He wanted that to be part of the furniture
So the
design.
middle had like a big stuffed turkey in it with glass.
Okay.
And then there was records on the side, but it was like
That's amazing.
I mean, I'll find a picture.
I
and
bet
send it
you
to
love having a customer who brings you a vision because they also know that you're receptive to other people's visions. Yeah. So they can kind of riff on something you've already done. Right.
Yeah, it was that was we had a lot of fun with
the
that.
Turkey Credenza. Okay, I love that.
So all you out there who
does it have a place for like a record player and everything in it?
No, this was just.
Oh, it's just to house the vinyl.
The standard design. You can put your record player on
Okay.
top, but this was made space for it. Now I wish I remembered.
That's
the turkey's
phenomenal
because he had a name.
Oh, of course
too.
he had a name.
Yeah,
of course he had a name.
It was a huge turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It was
I mean,
impressive.
if you hunt, it's going to be a prized piece, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He's done some turkey hunting and come back, distraught because
you didn't have one.
Turkey.
Yeah, they're the elusive birds. Yes, we'll have to have a side conversation about turkey hunting for sure. Are you passionate about wild places and wildlife, especially our beloved bobwhite quail? Do you enjoy the thrill of the hunt and the beauty of the great outdoors? If so, it's time to join Quail Forever. Quail Forever is dedicated to the conservation of quail habitat. With the support of volunteers and members like you, we're making a difference, 1 acre at a time. By joining Quail Forever, you become a part of a community committed to wildlife habitat conservation and public lands access. You'll also receive our Quail Forever journal and a decal for your vehicle or travel mug. Together, we can ensure future generations experience the joy of quail hunting and the beauty of our natural landscapes. Whether you're an avid hunter, a nature lover, or simply someone who cares about our environment, Quail Forever welcomes you. Visit quailforever.org to learn more and become a member today. That's quailforever.org to be a positive difference for quail today. Working for wildlife since 1935, Alabama Wildlife Federation is the oldest and largest nonprofit conservation organization in Alabama. AWF is dedicated to the promotion of conservation and wise use of our wildlife and natural resources to ensure a high quality of life for future generations of Alabamians. Focused in 3 major areas of conservation, education, resource stewardship, and hunting and angling heritage, there are so many ways you can get involved with AWF today. To join, make a donation, or learn more, visit alabamawildlife.org. That's alabamawildlife.org. For sure. So I think, in looking through your products, I know you all, music is something that seems to be important, and it kind of goes through a lot of your work too. You did a project where you were making guitars. Is that right? Mm-hmm. How did that come about?
That came about when we had a talented musician over for dinner, and Cliff and he were talking about ash trees, and guitars were typically made out of ash trees. Or Cliff said we got a beautiful ash tree, and then Les, the musician, said,
Les Newby?
Les Newby said, "Oh, that's what that's what you make Telecaster guitars out of." And they just started deciding they were going to make guitars, and so Les's wife Andrea and I were looking at each other like, "Oh no!"
And so it begins. No. This is the creative process. This is how it happens.
We needed to make those guitars. guitar.
Right.
And then, while I shook my head,
This is the beauty of a husband and wife duo. Like, you know where one stops and one picks up. It's great.
Yeah. So we figured out the specs we needed for the body, and the Les ordered the components for the pickups and the neck and everything. And we milled the body and made some adjustments to it to make it fit and all work right, and then had it assembled at Highland Music.
Okay.
The guy there, they do great work and have put a certain mojo on it. And so
mojo is a key
mojo
component.
is super important with guitars.
Yeah.
And so
you need ash, wood, and mojo.
Yeah. And we did a few different finishes, and we did some in maple and some in walnut. So we made 6 guitars. And
so it was a limited run.
Yeah, limited run, kind of for fun, but also to show what you can do with the material.
Right.
And each guitar, we know where that came from, where that tree was, and they've all sold.
That's fantastic.
Now we're working on a bass guitar. For a bass, a Fender Jazz.
Is that a
bass.
different wood?
No, we're going to use ash for that one too.
Okay. Why does ash work so well in a guitar making process?
I don't really know, but that's what was used in the beginning, and it's continued to be used. It's a real, it has a uniform density to it.
Okay.
It's a hardwood, and it's heavy, but not too heavy.
Okay.
But I think the uniform density is what's important about it.
Okay.
But the maple one we made sounds great, and so does the walnut too. And they each have different sort of characteristics. But that's really fun, and it's fun to show and talk about. And a lot of what we do
has a history.
A lot of what we do as a furniture company, as a design company, is we make things that may or may not sell, but they draw attention to the other products and the brand, or help give the customer, a customer ideas about what they are looking for. And so you never know what's going to work.
Right.
So we've got all this wood. What are we going to do with this?
Right.
We milled all this huge magnolia tree, and it's been sitting in the barn for 2 years. And then this client comes along who's opening a restaurant called Magnolia Point downtown, and we say, "What about magnolia for your bar?"
That's awesome.
At Magnolia Point and your
What
tables.
color is magnolia wood?
It's beautiful. It's sort of cream colored, but it has silver and some black and purple.
Okay, right. Is that called spalting?
Spalting is when you when you see little black lines.
Okay.
In it. That's rot. That's a fungus.
Okay.
So some people take a maple log and they'll let it sit, and like I said, don't let it sit because it starts to rot. Well, they want that rot to start happening.
Just enough.
Okay.
Just enough, so then you mill it and you have all these black. Spalting.
Interesting.
lines in it.
And I think people are surprised by, say, hackberry is generally considered like a junk tree,
Yep.
but you transform that at Hot and Hot.
Yep. Hackberry is one of my favorite woods, and it's hackberry and sweet gum. People are always like, "Oh, those are trash trees. That's terrible.
Get it out of my yard."
But those both create super beautiful lumber. We did all the Hot and Hot is all out of hackberry.
And it's like a beautiful kind of a yellow color.
Well, it starts off sort of, it has an amber color to it.
It's like maple.
Sort of like maple, but it has a really beautiful grain to it and a lot of figure. And we also use it with a white stain to keep it really light colored. And it's extremely stable once it's dry. It's hard to mill and dry properly, but once you get it, it's super stable. Like we've made huge tables out of it.
You used to have one at Make Birmingham, wasn't the big conference room table? There was was hackberry.
Yeah.
I think I was surprised because I've always hated hackberry trees in my own yard. I was like, oh, I didn't know it could be this.
Right. That, and then sweet gum is a beautiful, unique grain pattern, big flame grain pattern down the center of it.
Wow. That's awesome. So aside from working with designers to not totally custom design a piece, but they might see something that you've produced before and you could kind of riff on that, what's your best-selling item that you currently are making that you're like passionate about?
because we do the sort of tree to table where it's, your tree, your project. We also, the most of what we're doing is just using the wood for our products. And I would say currently the most popular thing I think is the Winston table. Would you agree? Which is a fun, it's like a coffee table, but we've done it in white oak and walnut, but there are these tiles that we made, and the tiles are sort of a process from a different piece. It's called shoshugiban, where you burn out the soft parts of the pine.
That's a Japanese process, right?
Japanese process. So we did that on pine. You're supposed to shoshugiban actually means cedar, but we do it on pine because that's what we have in Alabama. And so we took that, and I took a class at Sloss Furnaces and made some cast iron tiles to imitate that texture. And then we worked with a local foundry that does bronze, Birmingham Sculpture, and they made us, using our pattern, they made these tiles. So it's like using, local materials, local artisans. And so that we're shipping that like all over the country right now.
That's amazing.
It's very popular. All of our other cast bases, also the Emma Kalola base and the Legacy base tables, all using urban wood on the top. Could be a live edge table, could be a square. I don't think any of that's necessary to. We can showcase the grain in a lot of different designs, and those also we've shipped them all over the country. People are very supportive locally in Birmingham, but we also, most of our work is actually going to like LA, New York, where there's a lot of people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Also, all over the country.
I think that's fascinating. So where else can people see your work out? You have art and design pieces in public spaces too, right?
Yeah, we've done some collaborations with different public spaces where we, manufactured the design of different landscape architects. So at City Walk, the benches was a local barge design.
Oh, wow.
The legacy sites, there was a design firm called Olin Design out of Philadelphia, I think, but it's their design, and that's all over the legacy sites.
In Montgomery.
Yeah, sorry. And there's other things in also in the Legacy Museum, like in their bookstore, in their retail stores there. So we've done quite a few things for the.
And is it designated that it comes from Alabama Sawyer? Like when people are there, can they? Would
they know?
Yeah.
I don't.
Okay.
Think so.
It's a little secret.
And they're not necessarily they're not necessarily like our designs, so they're more like the landscape architects' designs.
But I love that they tapped into someone who's Alabama based to create those.
Yes,
it gives that history.
And we also, the beam benches that we make, those are also all over the country as
well. Beam benches.
Beam benches. They're literally. They're discarded logs from the milling industry.
Okay.
Where, because, the mills, like the sawmills that are making construction lumber or paper, like they need to work very efficiency.
Yeah.
So the logs can't be too big. They can't have too many knots in them, all the things. And so those would just be wasted. So we mill them into beams they're just very simple, solid volume designs, but they work in sort of the wabi-sabi look. They're very industrial chic.
It helps people feel grounded too.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's an example of having a big hunk of nature,
right,
in your space. That brings the outdoors in. They have a steel foot. There are a couple different base designs, but it has a steel foot on it. And we have a few different finishes and do them in a few different species. But again, it's like trying to make use of the material. Mm-hmm. What is the best use of, how can we move as much of this material as possible?
Mm-hmm. And honoring the life of the tree.
Yep, and honoring the material, the life of the tree.
Well, this has been fantastic. Thank you guys so much for sitting down with us. I know that people have gotten to know you a little bit through Get to Know Alabama when we introduced you all to Soul Grown viewers, and this has been another deep dive, and it's been so much fun to sit down with you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
To become a sponsor or supporter of Afield, email editor@soul-grown.com or just send us a DM on Instagram. For more throughout the week, follow me and Soul Grown on social media. You can find me on all platforms at Christiana.Roussel as well as Soul Grown at soulgrown_Alabama. See you next time.